All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, everyone, once again to the Fort Worth Community Arts Center and tonight's original work series presentation of Ashes of Aquitaine by the one and only Leigh Wyatt Moore and Glen Rusty Harding. I want to thank everybody for their patience tonight, even after a year of Zooming. Technical difficulties are always something that we are learning about. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, for tonight's reading, I would like to introduce our company that is taking on this fabulous script. So, Chris, if you're out there, pop right on. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like for all of you to say hello to Altered Shakespeare and Chris Sanders. How are you doing tonight, Chris?
I'm great. How are you, Jason?
Chris, I'm doing okay. It was a little hairy getting in here, but we managed to do it. And it's nice to see another face on the screen. Anytime I'm just looking at myself, I always break out in a panic. So thank you for your patience tonight. And how are you doing? And do you mind telling us a little bit about Altered Shakespeare?
Yes. Hello. So my name is Chris Sanders, pronounced they, them, there. I am one of the founding members of Altered Shakespeare, along with Sean Gann, Ali Mims, Christopher Liu, and some of our other members. Yes. So it's just been an exciting time in terms of the pandemic. We had opened with our first show, Two Gentlemen of Verona, that was directed by Sean. And we did that in about, oh gosh, what was it? Like July of 2019. And then we were going to do, breathe. We were going to do a comedy of errors. And then Miss Rona took us out. So we had been on hiatus, but as we've been joyfully saying, we have risen from the ashes like a phoenix through Ashes of Aquitaine. And we're thoroughly thrilled. I had been planning on directing Comedy of Errors. I actually have quite a bit of my cast from that show here as well. So it's been so exciting just to be able to see everybody again and work with them again. And one of the things about our theater company is our focus on working with LGBTQ and BIPOC members of the artistic community. There are also people that we know of who have just never worked with Shakespeare before, and we love having an opportunity to work with them. Basically, the whole idea of Altered Shakespeare is altering one's view of what they normally see in terms of Shakespeare and giving opportunities to voices that normally don't get to have them in terms of the Bard's great works. What we love so much about this this production and this play is that even though it is not one of Shakespeare's classical works, it deals so much with his text, particularly in terms of King John, as people will see when we do the reading. Absolutely, yes.
And we are so very grateful to have Altered Shakespeare, this wonderful company. I had the luxury of setting in a rehearsal, and I'm so very, very excited to meet your cast and to share this great story. So, Chris, may we meet tonight's players?
Yes. In order of appearance, we have Celeste Perez as Eleanor of Aquitaine. We have Eduardo as Father Alban. Kat Lozano as Kat. We have Ali Mims as Lady Leigh. As Lady Petra. We have Candace as Lady Leigh. Ivy Barr as Sir William Talvis. Sean Gann as King Henry II. Mike as Prince John Lackland. And last but not least, Cameron Casey as Prince Richard Lionheart. So this is our beautiful, illustrious cast. I'm really just here for the fluff. They're the main dish. They're wonderful people. And I'm excited for you to see their work.
I cannot wait. Break legs to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy tonight's reading. And with that, Chris, I am going to turn off my video and I am going to mute my audio, and we put it in your hands. Ladies and gentlemen, Altered Shakespeare.
Ladies and gentlemen, Altered Shakespeare, in collaboration with the Fort Worth Art Community Center, presents Ashes of Aquitaine. Act 1, Scene 1. A darkened stage. Only the heraldic banner of King Henry II of England is lighted. Slow, dramatic, medieval music.
July, in the year of our Lord, 1189. To his most revered Father and Holiness, Pope Clement, highest pontiff by the grace of God, I, Eleanor, once the joyful Queen of England, do hereby write to inform your Holiness of the great and sorrowful calamity which has befallen your humble servant. My realm is no more, Holiness. My life, indeed my very soul, has been cruelly torn from within me. All that was once good is gone. All that was once joy is sorrow. I pray you take heed of what I am about to relate, and beg that God will see fit to drown me in his mercy, until these burning arrows within me cease.
Medieval music fades. All lights rise to reveal the antechamber of a 12th century medieval French castle, Chinon, home of Henry II. A priest, Father Alban, paces the room anxiously. A young servant girl, Catherine, suddenly enters, out of breath and obviously excited.
Father Alban, Her Majesty, Queen Eleanor, has arrived. I have prepared her chambers as you requested.
Thank you, child. Is there any news of the king's arrival?
No, Father, not as yet.
Very well, then. See to the queen's needs.
Father, forgive me, but what is happening? The other servants, they speak in whispers. There is great fear. Are we in danger?
King Philip has declared war on our sovereign child. He would drive King Henry out of France and back to England.
But they say Prince Richard, the king's own son, fights against him.
Prince Richard has apparently chosen to rebel against his father, yes. Very much like his brother did before him.
Will the younger prince not help?
Prince John. That is most unlikely.
Cat still does not move. Unseen to either of them, a regal-looking older woman, Eleanor of Aquitaine, has entered the chamber. She watches both of them silently.
Is there something else, child?
Father, Richard's soldiers, if they come here, it is said that the common women are...
Do not be
well,
afraid,
I don't necessarily...
Catherine. Within these walls you are safe. I promise you. Even from the devil himself.
The devil, Father. Just who are you referring to?
Alban and Cat both turn and hurriedly bow to Eleanor. Alban waves, Cat away curtly.
Your Grace, my apologies, I did not see you come in. Welcome to Chinon. I trust you're joining us.
I asked you a question, Father Alban. Who is the devil of whom you speak?
The devil takes many guises, Your Grace. I refer to them all.
You mentioned Richard's soldiers. Do you really believe they would harm that girl?
With respect, Your Grace, Richard's army is not noted for its restraint.
My son is not the devil, Father Alban.
Of course not. He is merely your son.
Where is the king?
His Majesty has not yet arrived.
Then why was I summoned to Chinon?
I know not, your grace.
Father Alban, you have been Henry's confessor for more than 30 years. He tells you everything.
Whatever the king may have said to me, your grace knows full well I am bound by the seal of confession. However, I can truthfully say that he said nothing to me as to your presence. Truth be told, he has said precious little at all these past few months. A fact I find quite disturbing.
It must have something to do with Richard. Henry never releases me unless something or someone is causing him grief. But it's usually Richard. Do you know how long I've been imprisoned, Father?
Young Henry's rebellion was some time ago, your grace. At least
16 years. 16 years, Father Alban. Long enough to see all of my children grown and gone. Long enough to see 2 of them dead. Or rather, hear of their deaths.
a heavy penance. Yet, as I recall, His Majesty imprisoned you because you aided the young Henry when he rebelled against his father, very much as Richard does now.
Come, Father, you and I are far too old to traipse this childish dance. Can't we simply admit that we hate each other? Surely God would have it that way.
God would have many things a different way, your grace, and I do not hate you. One must love before one can hate.
Say what you will, Father.
The king is angered by Richard's rebellion, as well he should be.
Richard undoubtedly wants what's his by right. After all, he is the eldest son.
Then he should wait until God decides to call Henry to eternal glory, not take the throne by force.
But I am told Henry would have John succeed him. I know my son's father, both of them. Richard is far more capable.
Henry sees John as more fitting. That's his right as king.
Yes, the right of kings, that which trumps all arguments in the end. Tell me, Father, you know my sons, who do you think is more fitting?
I am a servant of God, your grace. I think only in terms of that which is pleasing to him.
A skillful answer. You're a politician as well as a priest.
I serve God and His Majesty.
Always in that order?
Whenever possible. In any event, His Majesty only wishes to avoid more bloodshed, something Richard seems far less worried about.
Even so, I don't understand what Henry expects me to do. I haven't seen Richard in years. I wish he'd left me in that prison, better a stifling castle than this wretched shuffling about.
A herald's trumpet sounds from outside. Eleanor and Alban both rush to the window.
God be praised. The king's men.
Those soldiers there, they carry someone.
It's the king.
Is he wounded?
I don't know.
I'll
I'll go to him.
I'll come with you.
No,
What?
I know the king's mind, and I have his sanction. You will wait until you are summoned.
He is my husband. I shall attend him.
I said no.
Alban stops and pointedly stands in her way. Then Alban starts to turn.
Father Alban, I am Eleanor Plantagenet, Duchess of Aquitaine, Countess of Poitiers, wife of King Henry II, and Queen, by God's grace, of England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. I will not be treated with contempt.
Alban quickly drops to one knee and bows.
My deepest apologies, your grace. I truly meant no offense. I promise you. Once I know more of the king's condition, I will immediately have you summoned.
Eleanor scowls at him for a moment, then curtly waves her hand in dismissal. Alban exits. 2 regal women, Petra and Leigh, suddenly enter. They are followed by a young knight, William Talvis, who wears a crusader's mantle.
Good lady sister, or would you prefer I call you your majesty?
Petra, dearest sister, you may call me whatever you like. How is it you're here?
I know not, only that I was summoned.
Lady Leigh, do you know?
No, your majesty.
Curious. Well, no matter. To see my sister again after How long has it been, Petra? I've lost track of the years.
Too long, Eleanor, far too long. My imprisonment has been no less tedious than your own, I'm sure.
You've been in a cloister, not in a prison.
Is there a difference? After my good husband annulled our marriage, he had me confined to a convent for my safety. The only thing safe was my womanhood. I swear, even the choir boys were beginning to look pleasing.
Petra!
But what of you, dear sister? How do you fare? I heard of the struggle between Richard and Henry.
I heard only what you have, I'm sure. What do you know, Lady Leigh? I saw the king carried in. Is he wounded from combat?
No, your majesty, he has fallen ill, gravely ill. He collapsed on the way to Alicon after Philip attacked him at Leigh. Something to do with his stomach, although the physicians don't know what.
Talva suddenly steps forward, smiling eagerly at Leigh.
My lady, doubtlessly you're tired after this long journey. Is there anything I can fetch you? Some cold water, perhaps, or something to eat? I can have the servants prepare your chambers.
I'm fine, William. Thank you for your concern.
It is my pleasure, dear lady. After all, I am yours to command.
Yes, and I am pleased with your loyalty, William. As you can see, however, I am perfectly content. Why don't you go and see to the king? Perhaps you can help with his needs.
Are you sure, my lady? If there's an attack...
An attack? An attack of what? Dormice? Spiders? I'm safe within these walls, William. Truly, boy, your concern grows tedious at times. Allow me to have at least a moment's privacy with my queen and her sister.
Of course, my lady, as you wish. My concern is solely for your comfort and safety. Your Majesty, Lady Petra.
He exits quickly with a look of chagrin.
God save me from such loyalty.
Dare I ask what that's about?
William Talvis, my guardian. Sir William, if you can believe it. A knight, and barely a grown man. Henry assigned him to me when the troubles with Richard began, though I must admit he's been more a vex than a service. The boy flits around me like a moth to a candle, and it is every bit as annoying.
Some youth, and quite obviously taken with you.
He's barely a grown man, Lady Petra.
As long as he's fully grown where it counts.
Truly, dear sister, you have been in that cloister far too long.
Cat suddenly enters, swiftly curtsying before Eleanor.
Your Majesty, Queen Eleanor, Father Alban bids you come to the king's chambers. He would see you now.
Eleanor exits. Cat hurriedly follows.
Should you ever should you ever wish to be rid of your young knight, Lady Leigh, then by all means give him to me. I could use a guardian.
Blackout. End of scene. Act 1, Scene 2. At Rise, the scene is King Henry's II's bedchamber. The king lies seemingly asleep in his bed while Father Alban stands nearby. Eleanor enters.
Is he?
Only resting, Your Grace. He's quite ill.
What's wrong with him?
I don't know. He has a fierce pain in his stomach and vomits blood. His physician thinks it may be an ulcer.
That's understandable. He drinks more wine than water. Has he said why he summoned me?
No, he said very little, other than he wants to see you.
I may speak with him?
For a short while. Try not to tire him.
Tire him? Of course, Father. Whatever you say.
Alban exits. Eleanor slowly approaches Henry's bedside.
Henry. Henry, it's Eleanor. Of course, just when I know exactly what I wish to say, the old goat sleeps.
Careful, lady. I have beheaded others for lesser insults.
You could have told me you were awake.
And missed the look on your face.
Henry starts to get out of bed. Eleanor tries to help, but he waves her off. He painfully makes his way to a nearby chair.
It amazes me how the years have always been kinder to you than me. Why is that?
I'm nicer.
I wouldn't go that far. You found me, Eleanor.
Who? Richard?
No, not Richard. Death. No matter how fast I ran or where I tried to hide, he still found me.
He has not claimed you yet.
No, but I feel him clawing at my backside. Cheeky beggar.
Why have you summoned me, Henry?
A husband can't send for his wife when he's dying.
We have not been husband and wife for a long time.
And whose fault is that?
Does it matter?
I didn't go through with the annulment, Eleanor. I could have, but I didn't. Don't ask me why. Indeed, I have continually puzzled over just what it is that kept us married all these years.
Distance.
Indeed. The poets would say that distance only makes love grow stronger.
The poets would also say that violets are blue, when they are in fact violet.
Truly, madam, your logic is dizzying.
Why am I here, Henry?
King Philip wants his land back.
His land? Oh, you mean the French territories you stole?
They weren't stolen, they were acquired, and fairly, as diplomatic trades. Most of them, anyway. Now the young whelp wants them back. Apparently he's decided he's going to be like his father, Louis. You remember Louis, don't you? Your former husband?
I do remember, and thank you so much for reminding me. I have terrible taste in men. In any event, Philip is not my son.
Yes, and more's the pity. If he were, I could simply have him imprisoned.
Well, in that respect, he may as well be.
You tried to overthrow me, Eleanor.
I merely gave aid to my eldest son.
Who tried to take my throne by force. Fool boy couldn't wait for me to die.
Very few people can.
What?
Nothing. You tried to give away young Henry's legacy, Henry. Everything he was entitled to as heir. His titles, his land.
They were mine to give.
Not all of them. Not the Aquitaine.
Not that again. For God's sake, Eleanor. It's just a piece of land.
Oh, yes, to you. To you, it was just another accruement. Another chip for your bargaining table. But not to me. It's my heritage, Henry, my legacy. My father gave me that land long before I met you. Before I even married Louis. But you would have given it away without so much as a by your leave.
It was for diplomacy, woman. A king must have peace in his realm.
Indeed. Which is far more important than your family.
It was no cause for revolt.
And yet you pardoned young Henry.
The boy was dying of dysentery. His time was limited enough. Yes, he caused me much grief. But I wish he had lived to cause me more. Besides, his folly I put down to his youth. You had no excuse. Sweet Christ. What could I have possibly done to have offended God this much? That he would let me die without an heir?
What do you mean by that? I bore you five sons, Henry. 5 sons.
Yet none of them worthy. You turned them all against me, Eleanor. I loved you, and you turned them against me.
You never loved me. I thought you did. I thought I loved you. I gave up Louis for you. I was queen of the entire French realm, yet I threw it all away for the handsome, young future king of England. Dear God, when I think of how foolish I was.
You were ambitious, Eleanor. You and Louis were through long before we ever met. You were bored, and you needed a new challenge, just like me. That's the problem with both of us, Lamb. We are too ambitious
Truly,
and alike.
Henry, I grow exceedingly tired of this pointless dance. Either tell me why you brought me here or send me back to prison.
What news of Philip?
Of Philip? None that I am aware, but Richard marches here to Chinon.
Of course. Philip would never deign to come himself. He uses my son as a weapon against me.
But why would this conflict in the first place? Negotiate with Philip. Give him back his lands in appeasement.
It's not just the land. Richard wants my throne for himself.
Then name him your successor.
No.
He's the eldest. It's his right.
But he doesn't care about ruling. He lives for war, for conquest. If he can't find a fight, he starts one.
And I seem to recall you started more than a few of your own. Perhaps he's only following in his father's footsteps.
Richard can't be king, Eleanor. He was born here in France. He was raised here. You saw to that. He's never even set foot in England. How can he rule a land he's never seen, a people he's never known?
And John can? Henry, John is a weak, cowardly drunkard who spends his fortune, your fortune, on wine and whores. That is a king?
But he is known in England. He will be accepted there. Don't you understand, Eleanor? The last thing I want is to see my kingdom descend into civil war.
And how can I prevent that?
You can parley with Richard.
I haven't seen Richard in... I don't know how many years. You saw to that.
Even so, he will still listen to you. He was your favorite. I always knew that.
He was the only one you would allow me near. All the others were sent away.
All royal children are raised apart. That has always been the way. They must each be trained as to their purpose in life.
Perhaps that's why we failed them. We gave them purpose, but no love.
Love? Ugh. Love is useless in diplomacy. It takes an iron will and a sharp sword.
And how many times have you ended up at the point of that sword?
None of that matters now. I need Richard to listen.
Listen to what?
To reason. To a plan for peace between England and France. If I try to approach him, I know it'll come to naught. But he'll listen to you.
You seem overly certain of that.
I am king. I know my subjects, and I know my family. I have not outpaced death this long for that very reason. Eleanor, please. If I am to shortly face God, then I want to do so knowing the kingdom he gave me is intact. I want that to be my legacy. Nothing more.
No, of course not. Nothing more.
Do this for me, Eleanor. Please. Do this one last thing for me before I die.
Why should I, Henry? Tell me that. I am your prisoner, not your wife. What's in it for me?
Your freedom.
Don't toy with me, Henry. Don't you dare toy with me. I know you too well. You take cruel pleasure in dangling promises before your victims, only to snatch them away in the end.
Do I? Yet another sin to confess to Father Alban. Hopefully there's time.
Damn you! Do not play this wretched game!
It's not a game, Eleanor. I swear it. Do this for me, and if Richard agrees to my terms, you will have your freedom.
What is it you wish me to do?
Blackout. End of scene. Act 1, Scene 3. At Rise, the scene is the castle throne room the next morning. Father Alban once again paces back, nervously, back and forth. Talvis suddenly appears in the doorway.
Eminence, His Royal Highness Prince John.
Talvis steps aside and bows as Prince John enters. John wears a royal mantle, a jeweled dagger, and a gold circlet crowned, but his appearance is slovenly and disheveled. He brushes past Talvis and throws himself heavily into the thrones.
Wine!
Alban nods briefly to Talvis, who exits quickly.
Your Highness, I am pleased you could come so quickly.
This had better be important, priest. I was on my way to Gascony when I received your summons. Baron de Blondeville is hosting a falconry tournament, which I was favored to win.
It was your father's summons, Highness. His situation is quite grave.
Is he dying?
I believe he is, Highness.
How soon?
That's for God to decide.
Oh, yes, of course, God. I should have known. Well, hopefully he'll make up his mind very soon. And what exactly does my father want of me? Or is that for God to reveal?
Talvis re-enters the throne room, followed by the servant girl Catherine.
Your father, the king, has made his wishes well known. Through God's grace, of course.
Hello. And who might this be? What's your name, lass?
Catherine, sire.
John quickly pulls Cat into his lap.
And I shall call you Cat. Will you purr for me, my little kitty cat?
Highness, with respect, we need to address the situation at hand. There will be time for other distractions later.
John pushes Cat away.
Don't go far, little cat. I'd be quite vexed if I had to track you down.
Cat curtsies quickly and rushes out of the room, nearly in tears.
What is this situation?
Your brother, Prince Richard, marches on Chinon as we speak.
So, I have 500 men at arms.
Forgive me, Your Highness, but Prince Richard is said to have more than 2,000 men.
And who the hell are you?
William Talvis, Your Highness, Count of Ponthieu.
You don't look old enough to be a count. But what of it? We can hold this castle.
We are not provisioned for an extended siege, Highness. In any event, the last thing your father wants is a war. He wishes to negotiate with Richard and King Philip.
Father, negotiate. God's teeth, he must be dying.
Eleanor suddenly enters. Albin and Talvis quickly bow.
So it's true. You did come after all.
Mother, what are you doing here? I didn't know Father had released you.
Your mother has been summoned by the king. Highness, just as you have, you are both here solely at his command.
The years have been kind to you, at least. After all this time, I would have expected to see a shriveled old crone.
Yet I see exactly what I expected to see. A drunken fool.
Careful how you speak to me, woman.
I'm your mother. I will speak to you however I please.
I am not a boy any longer. I am a man.
Oh, yes, you are a man. But you are not a king.
Highnesses, please. Enough of this, I beg you. You must put aside any grievances for the sake of the king.
You will not address royalty with such impudence, priest.
I mean no disrespect. But the king's health declines by the minute, and I fear time is of the essence. While he still lives, I am his voice. And he expects you to listen.
Very well then. Speak.
I wait for Lady Leigh. It is the king's wishes that she should be here as well.
Lady Leigh suddenly enters.
I am here, Father Alvin. Please forgive my delay.
Lady Leigh, God save you this day.
Good morning, my lady. You're well?
I am, William. Thank you.
You slept peacefully, I hope.
I did indeed. The bedbugs and spiders made no assailment. Doubtless they knew you were close by.
Talvis bows again and steps back. John quickly stands, approaching Leigh with a leer.
Lady Leigh, so good to see my intended once again. I do so long for the day our betrothal can finally be consummated.
Your Highness.
Your betrothal to Lady Leigh is one of the issues we must discuss, Highness. Your father wishes instead that she marry Prince Richard.
But she was promised to me.
She was always promised to Richard. Henry only changed his mind when Richard fell out of favor. Besides, she's Philip's sister, and Henry wishes to maintain stability with France.
And there would be no stability under my rule.
You're barely stable on your own feet. How can you stabilize a kingdom?
This match is beneficial politically, Highness.
Ah, yes. The Vexin, the province given with her dowry, another piece of God-forsaken land.
You are amenable to this, Lady Leigh.
I am the king's humble servant, Father, as always.
Ridiculous. Besides, everybody knows Richard's tastes lie in the opposite direction.
It is the king's will, Highness.
Of course it is. Tell me then, what else am I to lose?
In truth, Highness, you are to gain all of England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. Richard will receive most of the French provinces, while you will still retain Brittany and Normandy. Queen Eleanor will retain the Duchy of Aquitaine.
Brittany and Normandy only?
Truly, John, I think you should be ecstatic. You would control all of Europe's wine.
And how is it you would control Aquitaine? Aren't you father's prisoner?
Oh, the king has promised my freedom.
Mad! The entire world has gone truly mad. And who would be king, priest? Me or Richard?
Neither of you, Highness. At least not yet. You would each hold your share of the realm until one of you dies. God would choose the successor.
I am sick of waiting for God! I am father's heir. He promised me as much, just as he promised me a lay. God no longer has a say in this, priest, nor do you.
Listen to yourself, John. You would see the entire kingdom plunged into civil war.
And you truly believe I wouldn't win? Oh, ye of little faith.
John turns and starts to leave, then stops and glares back at all of them.
I will be king. God's will be done.
He exits.
God forgive me for giving birth to such a fool.
The others bow as she exits.
The king would like to see you, Lady Leigh.
Truly, I would like to see him. Thank you, Father.
Leigh curtsies and quickly exits.
Was she truly promised to Prince John, Eminence?
You know the politics of marriage as well as I do, William. Yet it was never what God intended.
Would you be willing to hear my confession, Father?
What would you confess, my son?
Murderous thoughts.
Don't worry yourself, lad. In that respect, I shall need forgiveness as well.
Blackout. End of scene. Act 1, Scene 4, at Rise. The scene is Henry's bedchamber. Henry stands at the window, staring grimly outside. He appears haggard and unsteady. A Leigh enters.
What are you doing out of bed?
Watching for that bastard son of mine. Which is truly ironic, since he's one of the few that isn't a bastard.
Get back into bed now.
You are ordering me?
Someone has to.
You do realize I am king?
Yes, but what has that to do with anything? Get back into bed.
My sweet, sweet Leigh. What would I do without you?
You would just find another.
No. There is no other, not like you.
Here, love. Get back into bed. You need to rest. Henry, are you all right?
Fine. It comes and goes. Far more often. That priest tells me I'm dying, love.
What does he know? He's a priest, not a physician.
He's a man of God. He's much closer to him than I am. Although I fear that may soon change. Leigh, I'm so sorry.
For what?
For everything. For wanting you. For taking you.
You took nothing I didn't give. Willingly.
I know. But you are an alliance. Promised to my son as a diplomatic pact. You came to my court as a child, and I watched you grow into an incredibly beautiful woman. And the more beautiful you became, the more I envied Richard. You know, I deliberately delayed your wedding. Repeatedly.
You didn't hear me complain, did you?
No, though God knows you had more than enough reason. Forgive me, Leigh. I used you. I loved you, but I used you. And I still do.
You mean Richard?
Richard, John, what difference does it make? I made you a plaything, a ball, tossed back and forth between them like children.
I wondered why I always felt so dizzy. Do you truly believe my marrying Richard will achieve peace?
It will appease Philip.
Philip cares nothing for me, Henry. He only covets the Vexon. Besides, you may need to convince John more than me.
John is here.
Yes, and spoiled as ever. He threw quite the tantrum when Father Alban explained your wishes. He will have me, and he will be queen. Apparently you promised as much.
The drunken little fool. As much as it pains me to say Eleanor was right, never tell her I said that.
Your secret is safe with me. In any event, Richard is at least fair-minded.
Richard? Fair-minded? 2 years ago, I sent him to quell an uprising in Angoulême. Some of the barons there refused to pay their taxes. I told him to negotiate, to listen to their terms before doing anything rash. He approached the city under a flag of truce, but when the gates were opened, he attacked. He slaughtered half the town and hung the barons from the battlements.
Does Queen Eleanor know of this?
Do you think she'd really believe it? He could never do wrong in her eyes.
I think I could have married Geoffrey.
Ah, yes. Geoffrey, the practical one. I had such high hopes for that lad.
It was difficult to see him die that way. It was only a joust.
Geoffrey lived for the joust. It was his passion. Granted, it's far more fitting for a knight to fall in true combat, but Geoffrey died content, I'm sure of it.
In any event, it would seem I'm doomed to marry a Plantagenet ass one way or another.
I'm truly sorry, love. I must play the tyrant for the sake of diplomacy.
Really? You only play?
Do you think you can take advantage of my infirmity, girl? I can still lock you in the tower.
At least I would have Queen Eleanor and Lady Petra for company.
Petra is here?
Yes, though no one seems to know why.
I sent for her. I thought it might please Eleanor.
That is important?
More than you possibly realize. Let me worry about John, Leigh. Only do as I ask. Will you do this for me, love? Will you marry Richard?
Yes, but not while you still live.
You have no worries in that regard. Even to witness that union would end my life. I have never known another woman like you, Leigh. You asked for nothing, and I gave you nothing. Yet you gave me everything. Why?
Because where others saw a king, I saw a man. A man I loved.
I wish I could release you. Before God, I wish I could set you free to marry who you would.
I'd rather live as a withered crone than without you, Henry.
No. You will never be a crone. You will live as a queen and bear many sons.
God grant me they bring me greater happiness than yours.
Truly, lass, your wit is surpassed only by your beauty. Even if I end up in heaven, which Father Alban admits is debatable, I could never enjoy its magnificence without you.
Then don't leave me.
That isn't in my power. Such irony, is it not? I defeated every enemy I opposed, won every treasure I coveted, took any woman I desired, but I cannot hold back death. What's the point of even being king? Please say you forgive me, Leigh.
With all my soul, love.
Good. Good. Now, if you will, I am tired and would sleep again.
May I stay with you? Just for a while?
If you wish. But if I should start to die, please fetch Father Alban. It may not help, but at least he'll put in a good word.
Hush, Henry. I will not let you die. Not while I'm here.
Well then, you must never leave this room.
Henry closes his eyes and falls asleep. Elaine leans against the bed and rests her head on his arm, then quietly begins to sob. Blackout. End of scene. Act 1, Scene 5 at Rise. The scene is the castle antechamber the next morning. Eleanor stands at the window and stares out forlornly. Petra quietly enters and stands behind her.
Do you plan to jump, dear sister?
Petra, you scared me.
When I was locked in the cloister, there was a parapet just off the bell tower above the chapel. Many's the time I would stand and stare up at it, debating whether I should climb up and throw myself off. Only one thing stopped me.
Your fear of God?
My fear of heights. I've always loved your laugh, Eleanor, though I heard it less and less as we grew older.
I have very little to laugh about anymore.
You mourn the king's illness.
I could never mourn for Henry about anything.
What happened, Eleanor? You used to be so happy. I remember your coronation. You and Henry seemed so much in love.
We were. Or at least I thought we were. It fell apart so quickly.
Ah, yes. The wandering eye of the flesh. That's what caused my annulment.
Infidelity.
Yes. But not his.
We are what we are, I suppose.
Eleanor, your letters stopped long ago, so I never really knew much of what happened between the two of you. There were rumors.
Of what?
Many things. Rebellion, treason, murder.
Really? And just who am I supposed to have murdered?
Henry's mistress.
Huh. Really, Petra, you need to be more specific. There was Jane, Elizabeth, that young scullery girl, I can't recall her name, Margaret, Leigh.
Richard's intended.
Don't look so shocked, sister. Henry takes who he wants. At least he had the decency to wait till she was 17. I suppose that's some consolation. But to continue, there was Louise, Catherine.
Rosamond Clifford?
Yes, Rosamond. Tell me, what exactly did you hear?
That you poisoned her when you learned of their affair.
Yes, I've heard that story. I also heard that I cornered her in a labyrinth garden at Woodstock Palace, where I offered her a choice between poisoned and a dagger. I think I like that one much better.
Did you kill her?
I hated her, Petra. I won't deny that. She was beautiful. Probably the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. I knew Henry wanted her. How could he not? But I was pregnant with John, and it was before the troubles with young Henry. I truly thought that things were getting better between us. But then she came along. It wasn't just that he took her, Petra. I mean, that was bad enough, but he flaunted her. He paraded her before the entire court and made absolutely no secret of their affair. I was so consumed with hatred of both of them that even John's birth brought no joy. Indeed, I think that's why I have such disdain for John. Whenever I look at him, I see her.
But did you kill her, Eleanor?
I don't know how she died. I was imprisoned at the time. Henry had placed her in a convent in Oxford after young Henry rebelled. Possibly he wanted her out of my reach, who knows? I heard only that she died suddenly. I did not weep at the news.
You could have had her killed.
Yes, I could have. Can we talk of other things? This morning is too beautiful to dwell on death.
Is Henry any better?
Father Alban said that he passed the night peacefully. Leigh was with him.
You don't seem to mind their affair.
I told you, I no longer care. Indeed, I wish I could leave this place. So many memories.
Do you really think that when Henry's dead, you'll be free of them?
No, but I'll be free of him.
Can And what is it that you really want, Eleanor?
Of course it is. Why wouldn't it?
It just doesn't seem like you, dear sister. You've always known exactly what you wanted. I could always tell. I still can.
Prince John suddenly enters. He is drinking from a goblet of wine and he raises it mockingly when he sees Eleanor.
Good morrow, Lady Mother. I trust you're well.
John, do you remember your Aunt Petra?
Petra? I don't think so.
Oh, but I remember you. You were 6 the last time I saw you. The cook was chasing you because you'd stolen jam from the pantry and it was smeared all over your face. I stepped in front of you and told you you needed your backside birched, and you kicked me in the shin. You were a horrid boy.
I'm not a boy.
Of course not, Your Majesties.
Petra quickly exits.
Witch! Just let her wait till I'm king.
What do you want, John?
Can't a son simply say good morning to his mother?
What do you want, John?
I want to see father, but that meddlesome priest won't let me. He says he's exhausted. Apparently not exhausted enough for a lay. Will you tell him to let me in?
And why, pray tell, would he defer to me?
Because people listen to you. Even father.
Why, yes, of course he does, which is exactly why I've been imprisoned for the past 16 years.
Father promised me the crown.
Henry promises everything to everyone. He gives only when it suits him. You should know that by now.
How do I share the realm with Richard?
You will be in England, he'll be in France. I should think that was obvious.
But I like France. It's where I hunt, where I joust, where I...
Drink and whore. You can do either of those things wherever you please. No realm claims sovereignty over those.
Richard won't go along with it. I know him. He won't go along with it. You'll see.
Let me worry about Richard.
Oh, yes. Dear, sweet Richard. Mother's favorite son. Anything he wants, he can have. That's always been the way, hasn't it? Tell me, Mother. I heard that he shared your bed growing up. Was that true? Or just another malicious rumor, like you killing Rosamond?
Eleanor bristles and raises her hand as if to strike him. John backs away, obviously frightened. The two of them glare at each other for several moments. Then Eleanor lowers her hand and shakes her head in disgust and quickly starts to exit.
Why do you hate me?
What?
Why do you hate me? You've always hated me. You loved Richard far more than anyone else.
I didn't know you, John. Henry took you away from me when you were still a babe. Part of my punishment for young Henry, he threw Richard aside, just as he did me. Richard was all I had.
That makes me less of your son.
No. Your own actions do that.
Even so, Richard is still favored by everyone. Do you know what they call him, Mother? Coeur de Lion, Lionheart. Do you know what I am called? John Lackland. Lack land. Why? Because I have nothing. No land, no titles, nothing.
You were the youngest. You were never expected to inherit the throne.
Yes, of course, the law of succession. How could I forget? Let me see, how does it work again? The oldest inherits the title. The middle commands the army, and the youngest becomes a priest. God's teeth. Can you see that, Mother? Can you truly see me as a priest? Your sins are forgiven, my child. Then again, perhaps it wouldn't be all that bad. After all, I'd be privy to everybody's deepest, darkest secrets. Not to mention the fact that I have plenty of wine and free access to the convents.
Truly, every word that comes from your mouth proves you more of an ass.
That's as may be, but mark my words, mother. I will be king.
Perhaps you will. But God grant it's only after I'm dead.
Eleanor turns and swiftly exits. John swiftly drains his goblet. Blackout, end of scene. Act 1, scene 6 at Rise. The scene is the king's bedchamber a short time later. Henry leans over the side of the bed and retches violently into a bowl that's held by the serving girl Cat. Father Alban stands nearby and watches the scene grimly. Cat wipes Henry's face with a towel, which is stained with blood when she pulls it away. Henry falls back against his pillow.
Thank you, child.
Sire.
Cat quickly stands and hurries out of the room.
How do you feel, Majesty?
How do I look, priest?
Like a king.
Who feels like a dog that's been poisoned. My entire body burns. Is this what hell feels like, Father?
I know not, Majesty. I pray neither of us ever finds out.
You have a better chance of avoiding it than I do, but I appreciate the sentiment.
You've given a good confession. If it's God's will you die, you will do so in his grace.
I haven't told you the half of what I've done, Father. Trust me, you don't want to hear it.
Nothing is hidden from God, Majesty, though men continually try. Do you repent of your sins?
What I repent is my stupidity, which seems to have gotten worse with each passing year. Age is supposed to bring wisdom, is it not?
Wisdom comes from God, and by learning from our mistakes.
The king is God's anointed. Can he even make mistakes?
I'm not certain I can answer that, Majesty.
Why not?
Because I've grown tremendously fond of my head.
Don't worry yourself, Father. Of all the people I would see dead, your name is last on the list.
I take great comfort in knowing that, Your Majesty, though it does trouble me that I am even on your list.
I am the king, Father. Everyone is on my list. What news of Richard?
Scouts report seeing riders wearing his colors a few leagues north, but no sign of the prince himself.
He'll be here soon enough.
Prince John would have us fortify the castle for a siege.
Of course he would, which would last only until he ran out of wine.
In any event, the Lady Eleanor...
Queen Eleanor.
Of course, Majesty. My apologies. Queen Eleanor thinks she can make the young prince see reason.
She'll need the patience of Job and a heavy club. Much as it pains me, Father, she is right about John. Yet another example of my stupidity.
Alban starts to exit.
I shall leave you to rest, then. There is one thing I am meant to tell you, Majesty. The Lady Petra has asked to see you.
Petra? To see me?
Indeed. She waits even now outside.
Is she armed?
Not as I could see, Majesty. Would you have her searched?
No. That would only make her angry. Send her in, Father. But leave the door open.
Alban exits. Petra enters and curtsies
Your
respectfully.
Majesty.
Lady Petra. Is it really you? Leigh told me you were here, but I wasn't sure I believed her. Last I heard, you were confined to a convent. I see no nun's habit, but I see no broomstick either, so perhaps it was beneficial.
Oh, but I left it outside, Your Majesty, along with my cat, though I did bring my wand.
To turn me into a toad, no doubt.
Oh no, of course not. I have too much respect for toads. I think I shall make you a common housefly instead, annoying as you are.
Me? You are the annoyance. I remember the first time I met you. Eleanor brought you to court for our wedding, and you immediately took it upon yourself to move into the palace. I was never even consulted.
I was merely waiting to see if my sister had married the right man. In fact, I am still waiting.
By God, it is you. The only woman with a sharper tongue than Eleanor's.
I shall take that as a compliment, given the source.
Eleanor was pleased to see you.
She was, and I her.
Good, good. I am grateful for that. I was worried she might not be.
You were the one who sent for me?
Yes.
But why? After all, you and I have rarely seen eye to eye.
But you do see eye to eye with Eleanor, which is what I'm counting on.
Really, Your Majesty.
Please, Petra, let us dispense with formalities. I am Henry, and I am dying. I will soon stand before God, and I doubt he will call me Your Majesty.
You find that vexing.
Only because it's too soon. I had wanted to live much longer.
So did I.
I don't understand.
I am dying as well, Henry. A cancer.
I'm sorry, Petra, truly. Does Eleanor know?
I didn't want to tell her. She is already troubled.
By me, of course.
You won't hear me deny it.
You could at least pretend.
Not even for a king.
That's the reason why we never saw eye to eye. You're too honest. She hates me, Petra.
She has reason.
I only did what I had to do.
As king, perhaps, but what about as a man, as a husband? In that respect, you were sadly lacking.
You don't mince words, do you, woman?
Why should I? I have as little time left as you. Feel free to take my head if you like. In fact, I wish you would. It would spare me the undoubtedly prolonged and painful death.
What could I have done differently? I am king. I had to care for the realm. I had to maintain peace. People often got in the way.
Even the people you loved.
Especially the people I loved.
Eleanor only wanted your love, Henry, your faithfulness. And who am I to talk in that regard? I was the one who betrayed my own marriage.
You and Raoul were never happy. Everyone knew that.
Does that matter? Is that truly an excuse for infidelity? He had every right to lock me in that convent. It gave me time to think about what I'd done, how selfish I'd been. I wanted to tell him so, to ask his forgiveness. He died before I could.
You think I should beg Eleanor's forgiveness?
I think you should both beg each other's. The church speaks of hell and eternal damnation, but what worse hell could there be than to die with a lifetime of regrets?
None. Absolutely none.
Eleanor suddenly enters. She starts when she sees Petra.
Petra, I didn't know you were here.
The king and I were merely catching up on insults. Isn't that so, Your Majesty?
Indeed, your good lady sister decided to hasten my end with her company. I feel perversely blessed.
Well then, my task is completed. I shall lead the two of you to your perpetual sparring. I go to find a fly trap. Your Majesties.
Petra exits quickly.
A fly trap? What did she mean by that?
She's your sister.
Henry. John
I know what John is, Eleanor. John is everything you claim and worse. He has asked repeatedly to see me, but I gave orders he will not. I am certain that if he does, one of us will surely die.
What do you wish to do?
Wait until Richard arrives. John will see reason then.
Do you truly believe that?
He can't stand against both Richard and Philip. And if he tries, then whatever befalls the dullard will be his own doing.
That is certainly a change of attitude from the last time we spoke.
Death has a way of unmasking realities, Lamb. What we would not see is all we do see. What happened, Eleanor?
What do you mean?
To us, why did our love die?
You assume we were ever in love to begin with.
I think we were. I think you believe so as well, as much as you try to hide it.
You're the sage, you figure it out.
Eleanor, please. There is so much I will never understand. Let me at least know this. Was it my adultery? My faithlessness? Was it Rosamond?
Dear God, I wish that I might never hear that name again.
So it was her.
Yes. No, it was everything, Henry. Don't you understand? It was Rosamond, Jane, all of your mistresses. It was your lying, your duplicity, your indifference. It was you. And it was William.
The babe.
Yes, Henry, the babe. You can't even say his name, can you? Even after 30 years, you still can't say the name of your firstborn son.
Eleanor,
He was only 3 years old. He had those terrible seizures. He would shake and shake so violently. And all I could do was hold him tight and pray for them to stop, please. God, just let them stop. And finally they did.
Eleanor, please.
Where were you, Henry? When we laid him to rest, I never did find out. Here in France? With one of your mistresses? I suppose now it doesn't matter. I only know that I needed you. I needed you to grieve with me over the death of our son. But you weren't there.
I didn't know what to do, Lamb. What to say. The pain was so great.
And mine wasn't. He was our firstborn child.
Don't you think I know that? I am reminded of that fact every single day. I keep asking myself, what if William had lived? Would I now be facing his treason? Or would he truly be the heir that I wanted? That's all I have left, Eleanor. A lifetime of what-ifs.
Do you want me to weep for you?
No. I want you to see me for what I am. Broken, defeated, no longer a king. Just a dying man facing his sins. I want you to forgive me, Lamb. Is that too much to ask?
No. It's not too much to ask. It's too much to give.
Eleanor, please. I need your help. What can I do? Damn it, woman, what do you want from me?
It's my freedom! Isn't that obvious? I want my freedom. I want to walk outside in the grass and feel the sun on my face. Smell the flowers and not worry if the next time you summon me is to my death. I am tired of being a means to an end. If you want something from Richard, then you deal with him. Stop being his king and be his father. That's all he's ever wanted. That's what they've all wanted from you. Just to be their father. I'm so tired of this. I just want to leave Chinon and never come back.
I promised you your freedom.
Only if Richard agrees to your terms.
It is the best I can offer.
The best you can...
Eleanor, don't you understand? You defied your king and your husband. Your punishment was just. After all, I must have obedience in my realm.
Father Alban has entered quietly and has observed much of this exchange. He suddenly steps forward.
Forgive me, Majesties, please, but I bear important news.
Of Richard?
Indeed, sire. The prince has been spotted less than a league from Chinon, with an army of
Is
5,000 men.
Philip with him?
There is no sign of King Philip, your Majesty.
A rift, perhaps? This could be to our advantage. Thank you, Father. You may go now. Prepare the castle for my son's arrival.
Alban bows reverentially and exits.
Eleanor, Lamb, as I said, I must...
Blackout. End of scene. Act 1, Scene 7. At Rise, the scene is the castle antechamber. The next morning, Prince John leans lazily against one wall, drinking from a chalice. Kat enters hurriedly, carrying a bundle of clothing. She doesn't notice John, who suddenly steps forward.
There you are, my little kitty cat. Scurrying after Dormice, are we?
Kat stops. She manages to curtsy.
Sire, please forgive me, but I'm about my lady's business.
My lady.
The Lady Leigh, sire. She would have me move her things into the king's chambers.
John slowly approaches her, reaching out with his free hand to touch her face.
Well, now you are about my business. Where were you last night, girl? I couldn't find you anywhere.
I'm sorry, sire, I was...
Tell me, little cat, have you ever lain with a king?
I've never lain with any man.
Maiden! Truly! I did not think they still existed. Well, then, I am indeed fortunate. As you also will be. And quite soon.
Kat tries to back away.
Please, sire, I must be about my lady's business. She will be vexed with me.
John suddenly and angrily grabs her by the throat, unseen, Leigh and Talbot silently enter.
Not nearly as vexed as me, girl. I don't like it when people refuse me, especially servants. You will give me what I want, and willingly. Or I will simply take it.
This way, Jesus, save me.
Let her go, John.
John turns to glare at her sharply.
What did you say?
Catherine is in my service. Let her go.
You forget who you speak to, woman.
I know exactly who I speak to. Let her go.
And if I don't?
Then I shall go and see the king. He's quite fond of me, you know.
The two of them stare at each other briefly as Talbot watches with a look of uncertainty. John suddenly lets go of Kat. Leigh nods at her and gestures in dismissal. Kat swiftly curtsies and exits.
So you move into father's bedroom. You prefer a dying man over a living?
No, I simply prefer a man over a boy.
I am not a boy. Why does everyone keep calling me that? Do you have any idea what I could do to you?
As long as the king lives, you can do nothing.
That won't be for long. And I can wait. Oh, yes, I can wait.
Then perhaps you should wait for Richard. No doubt he's quite anxious to see his little brother once again.
Enjoy your power, my lady. It won't last long.
John laughs and quickly exits. Leigh sighs in obvious release. Talbot struggles for words.
If you'll forgive me, my lady, the prince seems...
The prince is a pig.
My lady?
Prince John is a pig. He always has been. He can't help it. It's just his nature.
But he is your betrothed.
I will never marry John. I would throw myself from the battlements before that would ever happen.
No! Forgive me, my lady. I only meant... God forbid any such thing might happen. Suicide is a sin.
Perhaps. In any event, I'm not certain I will ever marry anyone.
With respect, my lady, I truly hope that isn't the case. I should hope you marry someone you love, and who loves you.
How's that?
Nothing, my lady.
You're a very sweet boy, William, and you're actually the second person to tell me that. But you have a great deal to learn about the world.
Leigh starts to exit.
My mother chose my father.
Excuse me?
My mother. She chose my father. To marry.
Truly? Truly? And just how, pray tell, did she do that?
She met him at a tournament in Tours. He was jousting. She asked if she could tie her kerchief to his lance, for luck. It must have worked, for he won every tilt that day. So she went again to the next event and did the same.
And did he win?
Every joust. By then, my father was convinced she was either a witch or the girl he would marry. Thankfully, he chose the latter. He would always say she bewitched him, though, and she would never deny it.
That is a very sweet story, William. Do you see your mother often?
She died, my lady, when I was 12.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
My father was overwhelmed with grief, so much so that he left for the Crusades. He died fighting at Ephesus. This was his.
You must be very proud.
He named me his successor before he left. He told me to always be a true knight. May I confide in you, my lady?
Of course, William.
I don't always know what that means.
Perhaps it means virtuous and kind.
Neither is ever easy.
No, neither.
My father was virtuous and kind. It may be that he meant I should be like him.
May I speak frankly, William?
Please, my lady.
I have known many knights. I think you are every bit as true, indeed, even more so than most.
Thank you, my lady.
Father Alban and Petra suddenly enter.
There you are, William. Prince Richard approaches the castle. He bears a flag of parley.
Eminence, I shall go and fetch Prince John.
No. His Majesty would prefer that I speak with the prince, William, and I would have you come with me.
Me?
You are the Count of Ponthieu.
That was my father, Eminence. I am unknown.
Prince Richard would recognize the title.
But I am not.
You are more than capable, William. You have my trust, and the king's.
Talbot stares at him uncertainly, then looks to Leigh. She nods encouragingly.
Very well, then. I will help as I can.
Alban and Talvis bow to the women and start to exit. Leigh suddenly reaches into her pocket.
William, wait.
She steps forward and holds out her kerchief.
For luck.
Talvis slowly takes the kerchief.
My lady.
Talvis and Alban exit.
Interesting. What happened to the annoying young boy?
I'm not sure, Lady Petra. Perhaps he's no longer so annoying, or so much of a boy.
Blackout. End of scene. Act 1, Scene 8. At Rise, the scene is the castle throne room, and a short time later, Father Alban and Talvis stand together. Then both swiftly bow as an imposing, royal-looking man. Richard Lionheart suddenly enters. Richard wears a cloak bearing his coat of arms and is armed with a sword.
Your Highness, welcome to Chinon. God's peace be with you.
I will see King Henry.
With respect, sire, the king's ill.
Perhaps you didn't hear me, priest. I will see King Henry. Now.
Again, Highness, with genuine respect, the king, your father, is ill. Gravely ill.
Was he wounded?
No, sire. He vomits blood from an ulcer. A great deal of blood.
Blood. And is he dying?
As much as it grieves me, sire, I fear that he is.
Truly, father, this news is unsettling. Yet I am still compelled to speak with him on behalf of King Philip. The French are angered that my father refuses to return their rightful lands.
I understand, sire, truly. And all of your concerns will be addressed, I assure you.
Without the king? How?
King Henry has given me his blessing to act in his stead. I know his mind in most affairs.
You know father's mind. I commend you, priest. I wouldn't have thought God himself that clever.
I know the king only wants what's best for the entire realm, Highness.
I'm sure he does. And where's my brother, John? I know he's here. I saw his flag on the battlements.
Prince John is indisposed, Highness.
You mean intoxicated? No doubt he's swimming in a barrel of ale with a naked scullery wench.
I can have him summoned, if you'd like.
I would never dream of interrupting his debauchery, but I would like to see my father.
In time, sire. You will see him, I give you my word. In the meantime, the disposition of the French realm has already been considered. In fact, the king has drawn up a list of proposals. I think you and King Philip will both find them acceptable.
Talvis quickly steps forward, bowing as he hands Richard a paper scroll.
King Philip and I will review these proposals, father, but I cannot make any promises. You wear a crusader's mantle, boy. Why?
It was my father's, sire.
And he was
Sir Guy Talvis, sire, Count of Ponthieu.
Talvis. Talvis, by God, I've heard of him. It was said he died defending a piece of the true cross at Ephesus, and that he didn't let it fall into Saracen hands.
So it was said, sire.
Impressive. Truly impressive. There is no greater glory than to die fighting for the cross. You should be proud of your father. And your name is?
William, sire.
William. You're a handsome lad, William. Quite handsome indeed.
Thank you, sire.
Prince John suddenly enters, obviously drunk and extremely livid.
Look here, priest. I demand to see my
John
father.
suddenly stops, staring at Richard.
Richard, I was not made aware you had arrived.
There you are, little brother. You must have bathed. I don't smell the beer that usually precedes you.
Tell that wretched priest to let me see father. He has no right keeping me away. I have much to say to him.
Father Alban, says the king, that our father is deathly ill. If this is so, then I will respect his wishes and allow him to rest. Besides, what great calamity would you report? The castle has run out of ale?
Father would take a Leigh away from me and give her to you.
Really? Is this true?
It's part of the king's proposals, Highness.
Of course. Ale holds the Vexen as her dowry, and it is one of the provinces that Philip once returned.
The hell with the damn land. I only want a Leigh.
And what makes you think that King Philip would want his sister married to a petulant child?
John draws his dagger and advances on Richard with an angry grimace. Richard draws his own weapon in defense, then holds the blade to John's throat.
Your blade is woefully short, little brother, though I'm certain you've heard that before.
Enough, both of you. Is this how the sons of a king honor a dying father? You grieve the very heart of God.
Told you before, priest.
John!
Richard's glare holds John in check. They eye each other angrily for several moments. Then John slowly lowers his dagger and steps back. Richard suddenly drops to one knee and bows his head. He holds the sword like a cross before him.
I'm sorry, Father. Truly, it has been a long and difficult journey, and only made worse by this terrible news of my father's illness. I would humbly beg God's forgiveness. Brother?
John starts to object, then reluctantly kneels.
I, too, beg forgiveness.
You are both forgiven by God's grace. Highnesses, with respect, if nothing else, let us be peaceful in voicing our concerns.
But what about my concerns? Priest, am I not to be included in Father's treaty? Or is my voice not to be heard? As usual.
Of course, John, of course. Your concerns are every bit as relevant. Despite our differences, we are still brothers. This can all be resolved. Granted, it would be better if we could speak with Father, but it can be resolved.
Indeed, Highness, this is why we are here. It's simply a matter of negotiation.
What's so funny?
Oh, nothing. It just occurred to me. It's really too bad Mother isn't here. Then you would see true negotiations. By God, that woman has a tongue sharper than a serpent's tooth. Indeed, sometimes I think Father may have actually imprisoned her to shut her up.
Richard,
Even as a child, I preferred a beating over one of her incessant lectures.
Richard!
That woman could talk the devil straight out of his
Richard!
hair. What?
John nods in Eleanor's direction. Richard turns. Blackout. End of scene. End of Act 1. At this time, we will take a 5-minute intermission. So feel free to get some water, a little bathroom break, and we will return for Act 2. And we return to Act 2, Scene 1. At Rise. The scene is the castle throne room, just a few minutes later. Eleanor and Richard stare at each other silently. John, Alban, and Talvis watch silently.
Hello, Richard.
Mother. Well, don't I feel like the perfect fool?
I tried to tell you.
Indeed you did, dear brother. My apologies for not listening. How fare you, mother? I had no idea father had released you.
Obviously. Really, Richard, a serpent's tooth?
Not necessarily poisonous.
Have I come at a difficult time?
Not at all, Your Grace. Indeed, your presence is most fortuitous.
I would like to speak to my son alone, if I may.
Of course you would.
As you wish, Your Grace.
Alban nods to the others and motions towards the door. All of them hurriedly exit. John lags behind.
Mind the venom, brother.
John exits. Eleanor and Richard remain silent for several moments. Then Eleanor quickly rushes forward to hug him.
Richard. Oh, my dear son.
Mother, it is so good to see you again.
Let me look at you. I haven't seen you since... I can't even remember the last time.
Nor I. Just that it's been far too long. Mother, the priest said father is dying. Is this true?
It would appear so, yes.
Doesn't seem possible. He was always so strong.
If by strong you mean stubborn, I agree.
But from an ulcer? I always envisioned father as falling in battle, not dying in bed.
No doubt he did as well, which is why he sent for me.
No, he sent for you because of me. Father could never talk to me directly. It's almost as if we speak different languages.
Indeed. I believe yours is called rebellion.
There is no rebellion. Father has blown this whole affair out of proportion, as usual.
What happened?
In truth, I don't know. Philip sent emissaries asking father for the return of the Vexin and Auvergne. Before they even arrived at Le Mans, the father's soldiers attacked them. No one knows why. In any event, one thing led to another, and Philip being Philip, he retaliated. The next thing I knew, he and father were at war, and I was in rebellion. I wasn't even there, for God's sake. I was in Paris with an envoy from Pope Clement.
Pope Clement?
Yes. I have incredible news, Mother. The Pope is calling for a new crusade, and he wants me to lead it.
Henry never mentioned this.
He doesn't know. No one does, not as yet, except for you. Think of it, Mother. I could very well be the one to return Jerusalem to Christian hands, something I've dreamed of my entire life.
This situation with Henry must be resolved first, Richard. John can't be allowed to take the throne.
I can't believe father would be fool enough to give it to him.
No, he's at least relinquished that idea. He would have the two of you rule jointly, you in France, John in England.
Seems a fair accord. I have no interest in England. It's cold, bleak, lifeless.
How would you know? You've never been there.
Exactly. No, I am perfectly content with my holdings here in France.
Except the Aquitaine. Henry has promised that to me, along with my freedom.
Excellent news, and perfectly fair. I have no need of it, and Philip only wants Auvergne and the Vexin.
The Vexin belongs to Leigh. It was part of her dowry when she was betrothed to you.
Yes, and I understand that that would be the case once again. John was very emphatic about that.
The marriage would satisfy Philip, and Leigh is a beautiful woman.
She's also father's mistress.
You know Henry takes whatever or whoever he wants. Besides, when was marriage ever about love?
Love? Who mentioned love? King Sancho of Navarre has offered me his daughter, Berengaria. Philip's relations with Spain have been tenuous at best. This marriage would provide stability for both of us.
You would give a Leigh to John?
I wouldn't give my worst enemy to John, although I might give John to my worst enemy. No, if father relinquishes her dowry, then Leigh can do as she pleases. Besides, I have no time for marriage. I must ready my army for Palestine.
Richard, I've heard troubling things.
About what?
About your army.
Such as?
Some of the battles you've fought, it's said that innocent peasants have been slaughtered, that women have been assaulted.
There have been incidents, Mother. I won't deny it. Soldiers in battle are given to excesses. You know that. But I do not condone such behavior, and I hang any man who indulges in rape.
It pleases me to hear that.
I don't understand. You worry over the virtue of peasant women, yet you show no grief for father.
I have lost all concern for Henry. Indeed, I see his death as being my final liberation. In so many ways.
But did you love him once?
Why do people keep asking me that? I don't know, Richard. I don't know what I felt. I look back now and everything just seems blurred. All my emotions are jumbled and twisted. It's as if I fell into a briar of both roses and thorns. There's terrible pain, but wonderful sweetness. I just don't know which is greater.
What will you do afterwards?
I shall travel to Bordeaux, where I will build a chalet in the hills overlooking the city. Then I shall spend the rest of my days simply watching the sunrise and set over the Pyrenees.
Hardly a noble end for such a formidable queen.
No, but perfect for a tired queen.
Well, I shall go now and review father's proposals with Philip. If they are as you say, then there shouldn't be any problem accepting. Hopefully we can end this wretched business quickly. It was truly good seeing you again, Mother.
Richard.
Yes, Mother?
I love you. You are the only one of my children I've ever been able to tell that.
Richard steps forward to kiss her gently.
And I you. Even with the serpent's tooth.
Eleanor slaps at him playfully. Richard chuckles and quickly exits. Blackout. End of scene. Act 2, Scene 2. At rise, the scene is Henry's bedchamber. The next morning, Henry lies silently as Leigh gently tucks the bed covers around him.
Are you comfortable, love?
I am. You don't have to fawn over me so much, my sweet. I have servants, you know.
None of them care as much about you.
True. Most of them find me quite vexing.
All men are vexing, and all men say the same about women.
Not out loud. Has Richard responded to my proposals?
Not as yet, although I heard he was quite amenable.
Richard is a chameleon. His moods change with the wind.
Perhaps it will both study for a while. I must go now. Will you sleep?
I will try. Without you to soothe me, it will be hard.
I promise to return soon. Rest well. Henry, the young knight you assigned to protect me.
Talvis? A good lad. What of him?
Did you know his father was a crusader?
Indeed. Guy Talvis, incredibly brave and loyal man. One of the reasons I gave his son to you. You could not be in better hands.
He seems quite young, almost still a boy.
He has his father's heart.
A true knight.
Yes, absolutely a true knight. Why do you ask?
No reason. Rest well, love.
Leigh turns to exit just as Father Alban enters. She bows.
Father Alban.
Lady Leigh.
Leigh exits as Alban frowns after her anxiously. He turns and approaches Henry's bed.
Your Majesty?
Ah, there you are, priest. Any news?
Nothing yet, Majesty. Richard left without a decision. Her Grace, the Queen, seems hopeful.
So Leigh tells me.
Majesty, about Lady Leigh.
What about her?
You have never mentioned her in any of your confessions.
Should I?
She is your mistress, Majesty.
Yes. So?
You are still married to Queen Eleanor.
Is that all? God is incredibly picky, priest. Of all the things I regret in my life, Leigh will never be one of them. God will have to be content with that. My only true regret is that I have to give her to one of my wretched sons.
In that respect, Majesty, I may be able to ease your mind. Queen Eleanor did say that she discussed the marriage with Prince Richard. He said that as long as the province of the Vexin was returned to Philip, the marriage agreement could be nullified.
Truly. This is indeed excellent news. Tell God I said thank you.
Tell him yourself, Majesty.
I will soon. In person.
Petra suddenly enters the room.
Oh, good God. Just when I thought this day couldn't possibly get any worse. How did you get past my guards, witch?
It wasn't difficult. I merely told them that if they didn't let me in, I would turn them into newts.
Father, would you please excuse us for a moment? I would speak to the Lady Petra alone. Besides, I wouldn't want her to burst into flames due to your presence.
Alban is taken aback briefly, then bows to Petra.
Lady Petra?
Father, I shall try not to stand too close to the tapestries. I know they're quite flammable.
Alban looks at them both with a puzzled frown, then shakes his head in confusion and exits.
You won't forgive me, Petra.
I'm not surprised. My sister is nearly as stubborn as you are. Indeed, I think God put the two of you together because he couldn't find anyone else who would take either one.
Perhaps. Just out of curiosity, would you have taken me?
Only with poison. Oh, should I summon Father Alban?
No, I'm fine. Just stop making me laugh, unless you're deliberately trying to kill me.
I won't rush death for either of us, Henry. It will come soon enough.
Would you talk to her, Petra?
What would you have me say? I can't reach into someone's soul. In spite of what you might believe, I'm truly not a witch.
No, but you're her sister, and I know she cares what you think.
Not in matters of the heart, Henry. No one has control over that, not even ourselves.
But will you try? Please, Petra, it would mean everything to me.
I will try, Henry. I will try.
Did you really tell my guards you would turn them into newts? Interesting. And to think all these years I've been merely threatening with execution.
Blackout. End of scene. Act 2, Scene 3. At Rise, the scene is the castle antechamber. A short time later, Leigh enters with Talvis.
And I would have my things prepared for transport back to Paris.
Everything, my lady?
Yes, there will be no reason for me to remain afterwards.
As you wish, my lady.
John suddenly enters, glaring at Talvis.
You, boy, Count of Ponthieu.
Sire.
I would speak to the Lady Leigh. Alone.
Talvis looks at Leigh, who nods briefly. Talvis bows again to the both of them, then exits with worried frown. John turns to smirk at Leigh.
What do you want, John? I have very little time for you now.
Oh, but you will, my dearest. Soon you and I will have all the time in the world.
John steps closer and reaches out to take her arms. Leigh backs away quickly.
Haven't you heard? Richard told Queen Eleanor that as long as the Vexin was returned to Philip, the marriage contract is dissolved.
Well, that's Richard's concern, not mine. Dowry or no dowry, you will still belong to me. I'll finally get to see what father's been seeing beneath this lovely dress.
Would you really like to see what's beneath this dress, John?
More than anything in the world.
Leigh suddenly reaches into the sleeve of her dress and pulls out a small dagger. She holds the blade only inches from John's face.
Listen to me, you pathetic little toad. God forbid should the day ever come that you and I do actually marry, that I promise you before all that's holy that on our wedding night, once you finished your drunken rutting and falling into a stupor, I will take this knife and I will plunge it deep within your skull, which shouldn't be difficult given it's completely empty.
You can't do that. You'd be burned at the stake.
Oh, it'd be well worth it just to know you were burning in hell.
Leigh takes a threatening step forward. John shrieks in terror and stumbles backwards, falls on the floor, then struggles clumsily to his feet and races out of the room. Leigh glares after him angrily. She does not see Talvis enter quickly behind her.
My lady?
Leigh starts turning in alarm with the knife outstretched. She is still livid with anger.
It's me, my lady. William.
William.
I'm sorry, my lady. I didn't mean to startle you. I was only going to ask whether you needed assistance. Clearly, I can see you do not.
I'm sorry, William. Please forgive me. I fear I lost my head, which actually might happen.
You were not afraid of him.
I'm no longer afraid of anything, William. The king's life is nearly ended, and mine along with it.
Please, Lady Leigh, don't say such things. You have your life back. You're free. I should think you'd be rejoicing.
Why? There's nothing to rejoice about. Even if John lets me live, I'm no longer virtuous. No one will have me. I will most likely end my days in a convent, if not on a scaffold. Perhaps it's for the best, given my sins.
The church says that God forgives all sins.
Perhaps. But we must first forgive ourselves. That's much harder, don't you think?
Lady Leigh, I will not believe there is no one who would want you. In fact, I am certain that person exists, and perhaps is closer than you think.
You are very kind, William. A true knight.
My lady, please know that wherever you go, whatever happens to you, I vow to protect you, even to my own death.
That comforts me, William. Truly, indeed, that does comfort me.
Blackout. End of scene. Act 2, Scene 4. At Rise, the scene is Eleanor's bedroom a short time later. Eleanor sits at a small table and writes intently with a quill on pen parchment. She does not notice as Petra quietly enters.
If you are writing your will, sister, I would very much like to have that ermine cloak Louis gave you. As I recall, it was much too small for you anyway.
I remember that robe. It kept me warm enough. I always felt safe somehow whenever I was wrapped inside. In any event, moths ate that years ago. Sorry.
What a shame. Well, then I'm not picky. I'll take whatever furred garments you have left. And your jewels,
Oh,
of
of
course.
I'm afraid you'll have to wait, Petra. I'm not quite ready to die just yet. I'm merely just writing my steward in Bordeaux to have him ready my lodgings. I doubt they'll need, no doubt they'll need a shovel to clear away the dust.
You'll leave soon.
As soon as possible, yes.
Will you wait until Henry...
No. Once this business with Richard and Philip is finished, I shall take my leave of Chinon. And I will never look back.
Bordeaux. Oh, it's been so long since I've seen it. It was always so beautiful. Eleanor, do you remember that little cove on the beach near the harbor where we used to go swimming as girls?
Yes, and do you remember that young nobleman who stumbled on us the day when we were naked?
I do indeed. Part of him, anyway. Would you mind terribly if I were to come with you, Eleanor.
To Bordeaux? Of course not. You don't wish to return to Vermandois?
To what, the convent? I think not. Besides, I have no holdings there. Raoul saw to that.
You are most welcome to come with me, my dear sister. Truly, I would have it no other way.
Thank you, Eleanor. It will be good to die among family.
Die? Petra, what are you saying? What do you mean, die?
I have a cancer, Eleanor. I am told that my time is quite limited.
What? No. No! Dear God, this can't be. Is there nothing that the physicians can do?
Only add their prayers to the priests.
Petra, why didn't you tell me sooner?
You were burdened with so many things. It would have been cruel to add to them.
Dearest Petra, just when I felt my spirits finally lifting, God crushes them again.
Don't go blaming God, Eleanor. We all take life as it comes, good or bad.
But why is it mostly bad?
Probably because we deserve it.
What can I do, Petra? How can I help?
There is one thing I would ask.
Name it, dear sister. Whatever it is, I will gladly give it.
Forgive Henry.
What?
I would like to die knowing the two of you finally stopped hating each other. Like Henry, I would see peace.
You don't know what you're asking.
You asked me how you could help. I'm telling you, forgive him.
You weren't there, Petra. You didn't see the things I saw or feel the things I felt.
Well, what is it you truly hate, the man or his deeds?
They are the same.
No, they are the deeds of a man. There are the deeds of a king and the deeds of a man. Granted, Henry is both, but in his defense, he can't help either. You loved the man, sister. I know that. I saw that. I still see it. You're simply too stubborn to see it yourself. Eleanor, please, don't carry this hatred for the rest of your life. I know the weight of that burden. Don't wait until you're facing death to let go of it.
Do you remember the fire, Petra?
Fire.
In the Aquitaine, when we were children. I was 12, I think, perhaps 11. You were only 7 or 8. It was so hot that year. There was almost no rain. The forest east of the Garonne caught fire. I remember watching the flames from the castle walls. They lit up the night, made it almost as bright as day.
I think so. I seem to recall Father was terrified it would jump the river and reach the city. Thank God it didn't.
Indeed. And do you remember the ashes? They fell for days, covered everything like gray, filthy snow. It was like walking through some bleak and evil fairyland.
Of course, I remember now. The ashes of Aquitaine. I'm sure they still speak of it. But why do you bring that up now, sister?
Because I remember feeling as though it was the end of the world. Exactly the same as I feel right now.
The servant girl Cat suddenly rushes in.
Your Majesty, forgive me, but Father Alban bids you come at once. Prince Richard has returned.
I'll be there shortly.
Your Majesty.
Cat curtsies again and swiftly exits.
Petra.
Go. We'll speak of this later.
The two of them eye each other anxiously for several moments. Then Eleanor quickly nods and exits. Petra stares after her briefly, then places a hand on her stomach and grimaces in pain. Blackout. End of scene. Act 2, Scene 5. At Rise, the scene is the castle antechamber a short time later. Eleanor and Father Alban stand waiting. Talvis suddenly enters, followed by Richard. Talvis steps aside and then bows and gestures for Richard to enter.
Your Majesty.
Lady Mother, Father Alban.
Your Highness, we welcome your return.
Richard holds up Henry's scroll.
King Philip and I have reviewed Father's proposals. Overall, they're quite acceptable. We have one or two slight concerns, but nothing which can't be resolved.
Excellent news, sire. God be praised.
But I wish to see my father in person.
As I've said, Highness, the king is extremely ill. I can convey your concern.
It is imperative, Father. I cannot negotiate otherwise. There are, shall we say, subtleties which can only be addressed by my father's presence in the conversation. To go back and forth via intermediary would only lengthen the discourse. Besides, I would very much like to see him.
I will ask the king if he is amenable to this.
That is most appreciated, Father.
If you will excuse me.
Alban and Talvis both bow and then exit. Richard steps forward to hug Eleanor.
Mother.
Oh, Richard, you have no idea how happy this makes me. Your father and I will be both at peace.
Then that's all that matters.
John suddenly enters carrying his usual goblet of wine.
Richard.
Oh, God.
John gestures with a goblet as he staggers forward, Richard and Eleanor.
I need to talk to you, brother.
And do you think you could possibly do it without spilling wine all over me?
There's a great deal we need to discuss. Alone.
I will leave you to your discourse. You have my sympathies.
Eleanor exits.
What is it you want, John?
I want what's fair, Richard. I will not grovel like a dog and simply snatch up the scraps that you and father decide to throw me.
And what do you consider fair?
A Leigh. I want a Leigh. The little witch threatened to kill me.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Why would you still want her?
To break her. To throw her. To show her exactly who she belongs to. I'll have her stripped naked and publicly flogged. Then I'll bed her.
Richard stares at him silently for a moment, then suddenly reaches out and grabs him by the throat. John clutches frantically at Richard's hand.
You know, little brother, it suddenly occurs to me how very much I loathe the sound of your voice. So much so that if I hear it again, I will choke it completely out of you.
But we're brothers.
You say that as if it actually means something.
Richard forces John to his knees and glares down at him.
Listen to me, brother. If you wish to continue this perversion you call your life, then you will do exactly as I tell you. Otherwise, I will crush you like the insect you are. Do you understand me, John?
John nods frantically.
Good. Now I want you to listen very closely because I'm only going to say this once.
Blackout. End of scene. Act 2, Scene 6. At Rise, the scene is the castle throne room a short time later. Eleanor, Petra, and Leigh stand to one side and watch as Father Alban and Talvis slowly enter, with Henry supported between them. Henry's steps are slow, halting, and he grimaces in obvious pain.
Careful, William. Slowly.
Of course, Eminence. Forgive me, Your Highness, please.
I'm fine, lad. I'm fine. I've hurt much worse, believe me. I once had a horse fall on me during a joust. Damned Welsh stallion. The Welsh always hated me. I think it was deliberate.
There's no need for this, Majesty. I can bring Prince Richard to your chambers.
No. I am still king. I will not conduct affairs of state from my bed.
But you...
I am still king.
Majesty.
Alban and Talvis guide Henry to his throne and help him to sit. Henry gathers his strength slowly, then he sees the women and smiles.
Good ladies.
Your Majesty.
Mind you, witch. No spells this day.
Really, Your Majesty. I was so looking forward to summoning fire and brimstone just for this occasion.
I can do well enough on my own. Lady Leigh, are you well?
I am, Majesty, especially seeing you here.
Good lady wife?
Husband?
The two of them stare at one another for a brief moment. Then Henry gestures curtly to Albin. Albin nods at Talvis, who waits by the entrance. Talvis in turn nods to someone unseen beyond the door.
His Royal Highness, Prince Richard of England.
Richard enters boldly. John follows slightly behind. Richard bows to Henry.
Your Majesty.
Welcome, Richard. Hello, John.
Your Majesty. Father, may I say how truly pleased I am to see you. I was grieved to hear of your illness, and I pray you a speedy recovery.
Your prayers are appreciated, Richard, though your rebellion is not.
A misunderstanding, Father, truly. One I hope we can quickly resolve.
You and Philip have read my proposals?
We have.
And you are in agreement?
Absolutely. With one small exception.
Which is?
I shall be the sole king of England.
No, you and John are to
You are not listening, Father. I shall be the sole king of England.
That's not part of my proposals, Richard.
Richard suddenly drops the scroll to the floor and steps on it forcefully.
That is what I think of your proposals.
Richard!
I haven't finished. In addition to recognizing me as regent, you will also cede the following provinces to King Philip: Auvergne, Anjou, the Vexin, Le Marche, Poitou, and the Aquitaine.
Richard!
Be quiet, mother.
But Richard, you promised.
I said be quiet, woman.
So, there is rebellion after all.
No, there is merely the claiming of what is mine by right.
You are forcing us into war.
Which you will immediately lose. Philip and I have far more men than you can possibly gather.
I have your brother's army as well.
Do you?
Richard holds out his hand.
John?
John slowly steps forward, then drops to one knee next to Richard. He takes Richard's hand and holds it to his forehead.
By the grace of Almighty God, I, John Lackland, do solemnly affirm my undying allegiance to
And loyalty.
To Richard Lionheart, true and rightful King of England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales.
And
what?
Didn't you forget something?
God save the king.
Richard pulls his hand away and waves a curt dismissal.
Thank you, brother. You were saying, Father?
What do you want, Richard?
Sign.
And if I don't?
Then I will crush what is left of your pathetic kingdom and erase you and your memory from all of history.
Henry grabs the scroll and reaches for a pen on a table next to the throne. He quickly scribbles his signature and throws it at Richard's feet.
There. Damn you.
Truly, Father, there's no need for violence.
Henry suddenly struggles to his feet.
God curse you! God curse you to hell, both of you!
Henry suddenly collapses to the floor. Leigh screams in alarm.
Henry!
Majesty!
Albin and Leigh both kneel beside Henry. Leigh hugs him desperately and sobs.
Oh, Henry, dearest love!
Albus also rushes to Henry's side. Henry sees him and gestures to Leigh.
Take her away, lad, please. And take care of her.
I will, Majesty.
Talvis gently but firmly pulls Leigh to her feet and starts to lead her away. Leigh stares at Henry with a look of anguish.
Henry!
Richard, what are you?
Please, mother, spare me the hysterics. The Aquitaine belongs to Philip. You can have your chalet in Bordeaux. I suppose you've earned that much.
How could you do this?
I am king. I can do as I please. You taught me that.
I did as you asked, brother. Remember your promise.
Yes, yes, of course. Alley is yours. Besides, I want no part of father's whore.
Better a whore than a traitor.
Richard bristles, raising his hand to strike her. Talvis suddenly pulls Alea aside and steps in front of her. He stares at Richard firmly.
You insolent pup, I could have your head.
I know, sire, but better my head than my lady's honor.
You're in love with her. By God, the little pup is in love with a lady above his station. Very well, then, you seem to be so enamored. She's yours.
Sire?
My first official act as regent, to proclaim the betrothal of Lady Allais Capet to Sir William Talvis, Count of Ponthieu, a reward for your father's service, Sir William. Although I have to warn you, you may not be mature enough for her tastes.
You said she was mine.
I like this union better.
But you promised.
I grow tired of your voice once again, little brother. I wish to hear it no more.
John staggers backwards from Richard's glare. He looks at Alea nearly in tears, then hurriedly exits. Richard glances around the throne room with a satisfied smirk. He places the scroll beneath his cloak and quickly exits. Talvis turns to Alea and forces an anxious smile.
I'm sorry, my lady. No doubt he meant it as a cruel jest. Cruel to you, I mean.
Perhaps, but perhaps not so cruel. Take me away, William.
To where, my lady?
Allais, William. My name is Allais. Anywhere. Take me anywhere, please.
Of course, my Allais.
Alea takes his arm and presses her head against his shoulder. Talvis hugs her close, then the two of them hurriedly exit. Eleanor and Petra have joined Albin in kneeling next to Henry. Henry's eyes are closed and he appears unconscious. Albin looks at Petra.
Come, lady. I must go and fetch the physician. You go and call the guards. You will stay with him, your grace.
Eleanor nods quickly. Albin and Petra hurriedly exit. Eleanor cradles Henry's head in her lap. There is blood on Henry's lips and chin, which Eleanor gently wipes away with her kerchief.
Henry, can you hear me? Henry. God, please don't let him be dead.
What difference would it make? You said you wouldn't grieve.
Will you please stop doing that?
At least I'm not an old goat anymore. Help me up.
Henry, you're bleeding.
I don't care. I will not die on a cold floor.
Eleanor helps him crawl to one of the thrones. He collapses into it heavily and fights for breath, then looks at Eleanor and gestures to the other throne.
Sit beside me, lamb. In your rightful place as queen.
Eleanor reluctantly sits. Henry suddenly smiles.
Do you remember our wedding day, Eleanor?
What? Of course. But why would you think of that now?
I keep thinking of something the Archbishop said during the service. He was trying to give us counsel for our lives together, but I wasn't paying much attention. I kept staring at your breasts and dreaming of the night to come.
What did he say?
Non est gravius quam coronam.
I remember now. There is no burden heavier than a crown.
He must have known what was coming, and we simply didn't listen.
Henry reaches for a scroll lying on the small table. He hands it to Eleanor.
Here. I intended to give this to you later, once all of this was resolved.
What is it?
Just read it.
Eleanor opens the scroll and begins to read, then looks at Henry in astonishment.
Your freedom. By royal decree.
Henry.
No words, Lamb. Please. No words.
But Richard didn't agree.
It doesn't matter. I was wrong to keep you imprisoned in the first place. It was only because of my pride, that damnable pride of a king. Let Richard have the crown for all the good it will do him. Let him bear the weight. Do you think William would have betrayed us, Eleanor?
You mean the babe?
Yes. William. Would he have been the true heir?
No. He would have turned as well. We would have made him. We forgot they were boys, Henry. We forgot to love them as boys. We wanted princes, chancellors, kings. We made them what they are.
I know.
Therefore, I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes.
How's that?
It's from the Bible. Job.
Ah, yes, of course. My kinsman.
Henry, you must know something. I had nothing to do with Rosamond's death. I did not weep for her, but I did not kill her.
I never did believe you did that, Lamb. But thank you for telling me.
I forgive you, Henry.
What?
I forgive you. For everything. I told you once that you were the only man that I have always.
I told you, Lamb. No words.
Can you forgive me?
Don't even have to ask. Ah. I feel him coming, Eleanor.
Death.
He's biting at my backside again. Cheeky beggar.
Fight him, Henry. Fight him and win, please, just as you've won all your other battles.
No, I have no more strength to fight. Nothing left to fight for. It's all gone. And you know, I don't really care. It was all... What did you say? Dust and ashes. Will you stay with me, Lamb? Until he comes.
Of course I'll stay. Of course I'll stay.
The two of them continue to smile at each other lovingly. Blackout. End of scene. The end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Can we see all the wonderful players back onto the stage, please? What a wonderful, wonderful rendition. Thank you, thank you, thank you to Altered Shakespeare. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to ask you to unmute. And I'm real curious. I know several of you, you guys are from all around. Do you mind just telling us kind of generally where you are and how this particular group came together for us for this great reading?
Sure. Why don't we start in order of appearance of the play? So we'll go with Eleanor of Aquitaine. Celeste.
Yes. So I'm based in Dallas, Texas. And my first show with Altered Shakespeare was Two Gentlemen of Verona, where I played Launce, did a lot of crying in that role. So it's a good time. Yeah.
Nice. And then Kat.
Hi, I'm Kat Lozano. I'm based in Dallas, Texas as well, and this is my first time working with Altered Shakespeare.
Sweet. And then Eduardo, Father Alban.
Hi there. I'm based in Dallas, Texas as well. This is technically my first show with Altered Shakespeare as well, and I was thrilled to be able to join the team. Thank you guys so much.
Next up, we have Lady Petra. Allie.
Hello, I'm Allie Mims. I'm also one of the founding members of Altered Shakespeare, and I'm based in San Diego right now. And yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for having us, Jason, and thank you. Sorry about my dog. She's very needy. She really enjoyed the show. She told me to tell you guys that you all did
Petra
great.
would have a pet.
Next up, we have Lady Alay, Candace.
Hello, my name is Candace Michelle, and I was cast in Comedy of Errors actually with Altered Shakespeare, but we got shut down because of COVID right during rehearsals. I'm based in Dallas, Texas.
Nice. Then we have Ivy, Sir William Talvis.
Based in Atlanta, Georgia, right now. I previously was in Dallas, and I was also cast in Comedy of Errors as Dromio of Ephesus, and never got to perform. Altered Shakespeare debut.
Next up, we have Sean Gann, King Henry II.
Hello, I'm a Filipino-born, displaced in Dallas, Texas. I am one of the founding members of Altered Shakespeare. I directed Two Gentlemen of Verona as our first production and was producing Comedy of Errors before we got shut down. And I'm very glad that we've been able to pull everyone together. And I've collaborated with Jason and the Fort Worth Arts Center many, many times and hope to continue to do so in the future.
Then we have Mike as Prince John Lackland.
Hi, I'm Mike Concheso, and this is my first show with Altered Shakespeare, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm currently based in Los Angeles, California.
Nice. And we have Cameron as Prince Richard Lionheart.
Hi, y'all. I'm Cameron Casey. I'm also based out of Dallas. This is my first time working with Altered Shakes, but I've been wanting to from the jump, so I'm so glad that I got to this time around.
We're glad we got you. And then I am Chris Sanders. I am also one of the founding members of Altered Shakespeare. And I am originally from New Jersey, now based in Dallas, Texas.
Awesome. So I'm so curious, for any of you that care to answer this, are all historical plays Shakespearean? I'm curious, what is it about Shakespeare that keeps it in the forefront of art? And if anyone wants to tackle that little question, I always hear stories are Shakespearean, even though they weren't necessarily written by him. Why Shakespeare?
I'll take a stab. History has a lot of gravitas, and Shakespeare had a wonderful way of capturing that and that element and that feel. And I think that when people try to represent that, especially in histories and dramas that relate to the histories, we can't help but think on Shakespeare because he just had such a wonderful way of presenting these people in some of the darkest and some of the greatest lights, even when they did deserve one or the other.
I think it's very epic in storytelling is something that I think lends itself to that Shakespearean phrase. I'm curious again, just for anybody who is willing to talk about it, is playing a historical figure, is it confining or is it freeing?
I think it's freeing because we're not going for reality here. I mean, our company is all about like putting people you don't expect in classic roles. And so I think even though this is a new work, I sort of thought of it that way too. I wasn't really thinking, what was Petra like in real life? I was more thinking, okay, if I was Petra living in this time, how would I react and how would I say these things? And I think that's sort of like at the heart of our company, is that we're not trying to fit into that box. We're instead trying to bring a new perspective to these historical people.
Well, we are certainly very honored to have all of you. On that note, what are your plans for Altered Shakespeare? What does your future look like coming out of the pandemic and looking forward? Anyone like to speak to that?
Well, we've been kind of split up a little bit. Allie has ended up in San Diego. She's attending Columbia. One of our other founders, Christopher Liu, is out at Brown University in Rhode Island. We've taken on 2 other members to kind of help solidify our base here. And I imagine that as everyone gets vaccinated and as everyone kind of steps out and joins the public again, we will find those partnerships and rejoin them. We had a great partnership with Union Coffee House and Artstillery, and we had other opportunities in the works and other venues, bars, public spaces, and we continue to cultivate those. And as soon as I think everyone feels comfortable, and I think as soon as everybody feels right about being in close proximity and having a good time with everybody and being true groundlings again, that we will be out in the public eye once more, and we will choose many of Shakespeare's productions, and we will continue to live up to our mission.
You guys are certainly doing that, and we certainly hope that you'll maybe come over to the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. We have an outside lawn. We got a big theater, a medium theater. We would absolutely love to have you. How and where can people find Altered Shakespeare and keep up with what it is you have going on?
We are on Instagram and Facebook. You can find us on Instagram, altered.shakespeare, and Facebook, just search Altered Shakespeare. And if anyone has any questions or wants to reach out, you can reach out through those social media platforms, or you can always email us at alteredshakespeare.info@gmail.com.
Awesome. We'll make sure and get those links in the comments. Any final thoughts from our featured company, Altered Shakespeare, this evening?
Personally, I'd like to thank the authors, Rusty and Leigh. They've written a very good piece of historical drama, representing these characters very well and making them very relatable and taking interesting angles on them. We all know that The Lion in Winter is out there as a film and a play, and Hepburn and company have kind of archetyped some of those pieces, and it's nice to have a new spin and take on this particular period and these people, because they're so interesting and everyone kind of loves to link into the Plantagenets.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are seriously so grateful to all of you. Virtual round of applause for everyone. Altered Shakespeare, you guys are awesome. Of course, our original work series, Ashes of Aquitaine, with our fabulous authors, Leigh Wyatt Moore, Glen Rusty Harding. Don't forget, there is a Boxed Lunched episode on our YouTube channel that is with the authors, and we'll tell you more about them. We'll also have this uploaded as well. And ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another Thursday evening of our original work series here at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. We'll be back next Thursday with a brand new script. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bravo to our company. Bravo to our authors. And with that being said, have a great night, everybody. Stay safe out there, and we'll see
Love
you
you
again
all,
soon.
cast members.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Wonderful people. Love you, Chris.